The clever boy. A man with his donkey carrying 2 sacks of wheat was on his way to the market. After a little while he was tired and they rested under a tree. When he woke up from his nap he could not see the donkey and started searching for the donkey everywhere. On the way he met a boy. He asked the boy, "Have you seen my donkey?" The boy asked, "Is the donkey's left eye blind, his right foot lame, and is he carrying a load of wheat?" The man was happy and said, "Yes, exactly. Where have you seen it?" The boy answered, "I haven't seen it." This made the man very angry, and he took the boy to the village chief for punishment. The judge asked, "Dear boy, if you had not seen at the donkey, how could you describe it?" The boy answered, "I saw the tracks of a donkey and the right and left tracks were different. From this I understood that the donkey that passed there was limping, and the grass on the right side of the road was eaten but the grass on the left was not. From that I understood that his left eye was blind. There were wheat seeds scattered in the ground and I understood that he must have been carrying a load of wheat." The judge understood the 3 wise men. One day some wise men, who were going about the country trying to find answers to some of the great questions of their time, came to Nasreddin's district and asked to see the wisest man in the place. Nasreddin was brought forward, and a big crowd gathered to listen. The first wise man began by asking, "Where is the exact center of the world?" "It is under my right heel," answered Nasreddin. "How can you prove that?" asked the first wise man. "If you don't believe me," answered Nasreddin, "measure and see." The first wise man had nothing to answer to that, so the second wise man asked his question. "How many stars are there in the sky?" he said. "As many as there are hairs on my donkey," answered Nasreddin. "What proof have you got of that?" asked the second wise man. "If you don't believe me," answered Nasreddin, "count the hairs on my donkey and you will see." "That's foolish talk," said the other. "How can one count the hairs on a donkey?" "Well," answered Nasreddin, "how can one count the stars in the sky? If one is foolish talk, so is the other." The second wise man was silent. The third wise man was becoming annoyed with Nasreddin and his answer, so he said, "You seem to know a lot about your donkey, so can you tell me how many hairs there are in its tail?" "Yes," answered Nasreddin. "There are exactly as many hairs in its tail as there are in your beard." "How can you prove that?" said the other. "I can prove it very easily," answered Nasreddin. "You can pull 1 hair out of my donkey's tail for every one I pull out of your beard. If the hairs on my donkey's tail do not come to an end at exactly the same time as the hairs in your beard, I will admit that I was wrong." Of course, the third wise man was not willing to do this, so the crowd declared Nasreddin the winner of the day's arguments. One day the Nasreddin said to his friends, "If I die, the cage birds escape." Once upon a time, there was a bird in a cage who sang for her merchant owner. He took delight in her song day and night, and was so fond of her that he served her water in a golden dish. Before he left for a business trip, he asked the bird if she had a wish. "I will go through the forest where you were born, past the birds of your old neighborhood. What message should I take for them?" The bird said, "Tell them I sit full of sorrow in a cage singing my captive song. Day and night my heart is full of grief. I hope it will not be long before I see my friends again and fly freely through the trees. Bring me a message from the lovely forest, which will set my heart at ease. Oh, I yearn for my beloved, to fly with him and spread my wings. Until then there is no joy for me, and I am cut off from all of life's sweet things." The merchant traveled on his donkey through the dense forest. He listened to the melodies of many birds. When the merchant reached the forest where his bird came from, he stopped, pushed his hood back and said, "Oh, you birds! Greetings to you all from my pretty bird locked in her cage. She sends tidings of her love to you and wants to tell of her plight. She asks for a reply that will ease her heart. My love for her keeps her captive with bars all around her. She wants to join her beloved and sing her songs through the air with a free heart, but I would miss her beautiful songs and cannot let her go." All the birds listened to the merchant's words. Suddenly one bird shrieked and the merchant continued on to the city and traded his goods. At last he returned to his home, but he did not know what to tell his bird when she asked what message he had brought. He stood before her cage and said, "Oh, nothing to speak of, no, no." The bird cried, "I must know at once." "I do not know what happened," said the merchant. "I told them your message. Then one of them fell down dead." Suddenly the merchant's bird let out a terrible shriek and fell on her head to the bottom of the cage. The merchant was horrified. He wept in despair. "Oh, what have I done?" he cried. "What have I done? Now my life means nothing. My moon has gone and so has my sun. Now my own bird is dead." He opened the cage door, reached in, and took her into his hands gently and carefully. "I will have to bury her now," he said. "Poor thing is dead." Suddenly, the moment he had lifted the bird out of the cage, she swooped up, flew out of the window and landed on the nearest roof slope. She turned to him and said gratefully, "Thank you, merchant master, for delivering my message. That bird's reply instructed me how to win my freedom. All I had to do was to be dead. I gained my freedom when I chose to die. So now I fly to my beloved who waits for me. Goodbye, goodbye, my master no longer. My bird was wise, she taught me secret," the merchant reflected. The one-eyed doe. A doe had the misfortune to lose one of her eyes, and could not see anyone approaching her on that side. So to avoid any danger she always used to feed on a high cliff near the sea, with her sound eye looking towards the land. By this means she could see whenever the hunters approached her on land, and often escaped by this means. But the hunters found out that she was blind of one eye, and hiring a boat rowed under the cliff where she used to feed and shot her from the sea. "Ah," cried she with her dying voice, "you cannot escape your fate.